Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. We just hit 41,000 subscribers, so let's try to get to 42K. Please like this video down below and subscribe to the channel. But before we get started, I have to tell you guys about my friends over at Lear Capital. We all knew that the market had to correct at some point, right? But no one could have imagined what we're seeing today. COVID-19 is a human tragedy, and it's also an economic tragedy as the global economy is collapsing all around us. How will the markets respond from this point forward? Well, many economists are predicting a third quarter recovery. However, there's still so many unknowns that it's simply impossible to say. One thing is for sure, though, you just can't flip a switch and expect everything to return to normal. But headlines are suggesting there is an upside in investing, and the upside is gold. If you want to make money in 2020, gold and silver are looking like a good bet according to Money Week, and that's why many Americans are making the decision to diversify into gold. Since 1997, Lear Capital has been America's top destination for gold IRA and precious metal sales. Mention this channel and receive a free silver coin with your first purchase. Call 800-819-2495 now. We'll show you how easy it is to buy, sell, or trade your metals. Call 800-819-2495. That's 800-819-2495, or submit a request from the link in the description. And you guys know what day it is today. It is July 1st, and every first of the month or every first week of the month, we do an election prediction. We update the electoral map. I will be doing more than one prediction a month starting in July just because we are getting closer to the election. We are getting a whole lot of new data surrounding the election, and we are getting a lot more polls, things like that. And in terms of the polls, it's funny because a lot of the people are saying Trump is going to lose in a massive landslide, as they usually will. However, weight the polls properly, weight them by party ID. The national polling aggregate actually expects Biden to win by 4.2. And ignore the Electoral College result right now through this model for right now, because it's not exactly my end prediction. Obviously, Biden might be up by 4.2 in the popular vote right now. That's not necessarily saying that he will win by 4.2% at the end of the day, but it's like you weight every poll, and not every poll, because obviously polls like The Hill right here had Biden up by 4, and you weight it properly, he's up by a little bit more than that. A lot of the other polls are showing a massive error, including The Economist, which showed an 8-point error in favor of Joe Biden when properly weighted. So it's very interesting, and you have to account for this. You can't just look at the polls and say, hey, the polls are fine, we have to blindly trust them, because that's not how you predict elections. But either way, nevertheless, I'm going to go through this map, East Coast to West Coast, and we are going to be filling out every single state. Which way is it going to go? So we're going to start on the East Coast. We're going to start with Maine. We're going to start with Maine's 2nd district. This is a district that Donald Trump won by over 10 points. It's also a district that Obama won by a massive margin in 2008 and 2012. I do expect Donald Trump to win it, although there was a little bit of a turn a little bit to the left in 2018 compared to the general average. So I think Trump will win the district. It might be by a closer percentage than he won it by last time. And in Maine at large, I'm going to put Maine at large in the lean to likely column. I think it's going to go Democrat by about 5 points, but we really don't have any polling data. But we can go based off of regular and generic trends, which way the state is exactly moving. It's probably going to go to Biden, but it's probably going to go to Biden by not too much more than what it went to Hillary Clinton by in the 2016 election. Now, the first flip of the night would be New Hampshire. I really do believe that Donald Trump has a very good chance to win the state of New Hampshire, partially because they have a pro-Trump governor who's favored by 40 points in the last poll to win. I don't think that's the only reason. Trump only lost the state by roughly 3,000 votes, but I think that he can easily flip the state of New Hampshire. He's going to be putting more resources, putting more energy into the state than Joe Biden. If he's going to be doing rallies, Biden announced he's not doing rallies. Trump doing a couple rallies in the state of New Hampshire may be enough to get the turnout needed to bridge that entire gap between Trump and Biden. So I do think that Trump will narrowly carry the state of New Hampshire in the November election. So now we have to go down to the state of Pennsylvania. And when it comes to Pennsylvania, this is a state that could really go either way. The primary turnout, it looked good when it came in at first for Trump, then he kind of fell behind a little bit. The rural trends in the western part of the state are really benefiting the Republicans. However, we don't know if there's going to be a turnout surge for Biden in the Philadelphia suburbs. And some of the polling data we have is very wishy-washy. When you weight it, some of it has Trump and Biden within a tie. Some has Biden up by 4 or 5 points. I think it's going to go down the wire, but I'm going to put Pennsylvania. I hate to do this, but I'm going to put it in the tilt D column. That could change. I could change my mind as we have more polling, more information. But the primary turnout data didn't exactly look like what it looked like at first when all the ballots came in. And if people are going to be in the comments saying, well, that could have been foul play, well, either way, we have to count Pennsylvania as a lean D state. Or tilt D state. Virginia is a likely D state, if not a safe D state. Biden should have no problem galvanizing the establishment, the neocons, the neo-libs in the Nova area surrounding D.C. that is too powerful and will outvote the state no matter what. Biden will have absolutely zero problems winning that demographic, which is what controls the state of Virginia. So Biden will probably outperform Hillary in the state of Virginia. In the state of North Carolina, I have some registration data pulled up here in which the Republicans have actually been killing it in terms of the registration. Now, Democrats, there's still some time for them to catch up a little bit. But in terms of that, and some of the polling have it voting to the right of the nation by, I think that the polls have Biden up by like 1 to 2 there, but we know the early polls in North Carolina typically do lean Dem. We also know that the polls are voting to the right of the country by 6 or 7 points. Personally, that's more of an indicator for me that it's going to stay in Trump's column. If it could be a little bit narrower than it was last time, and I think that Tom Tillis, I think he'd probably narrowly beat Cunningham in the Senate race there. It's going to go down the wire either way. Obviously, I do believe that Dan Forrest is going to lose by around 10 to Roy Cooper, who's fairly popular. But in terms of North Carolina, I still think Trump will hold the state of North Carolina, as well as the state of Georgia, which has been getting closer and closer every single election cycle. However, I do think that Donald Trump will hold the state of Georgia in this election. The state of Ohio, again, Trump did extremely well in terms of primary turnout, almost beat Biden and Sanders combined in the state of Ohio. Personally, when you weighted the polls out of Quinnipiac, which were abysmal, that had them in a virtual tie, Trump was up by 5, and that's the common theme in a lot of the polls we saw in not only 2016, but also 2018 in the states of Ohio and Iowa. Personally, both states for right now, I'm going to be putting in the likely red column. I do believe that both states are going to vote for Trump by a comfortable margin, maybe a little bit closer than last time, but still 7 points red. And then I think in the future elections like 2024, 2028, they're only going to get redder. So those states are going to be likely red for now. And we'll move down to the state of Florida. Now, Florida, we also want to talk about primary turnout. It's not everything, but it is a good metric. Donald Trump did fairly well, and there was no need for Republicans to turn out at all. Trump obviously had it in the bag. There were no congressional races down ballot, and Trump was still able to get several million to turn out for him, even in a global pandemic, against Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, who was still in the race. Although a lot of the Bernie counties actually saw a massive drop-off in Dem turnout, which is also interesting, proving that the panhandle could be solidifying even more so in favor of Donald Trump. So I think Florida is going to be very, very close. Obviously, registrations, it's neck and neck when you look at total registrations, not just mail-in registrations. So Florida right now, it's going to be in the tilt Trump column. I believe Florida is going to stay with the incumbent. They love incumbents if you look at the history behind it. I think it's voted for every single Republican incumbent going back to, I don't know, what, 1976 or so. So I do believe that it is going to stay within the Trump hands. Also, Michigan, that's going to be an interesting state to analyze. Some of the polling data I've seen shows Trump in fairly good shape in Michigan. Some of the polling data I've seen when weighted show Trump in kind of not so good of a shape, but some of the polling data last time showed the exact same thing. So it's going to be a very interesting race to watch. Personally, I have to give Biden the edge for now, although that can change. Obviously, you did see lower Democrat primary turnout in places like Detroit. In places like Flint, we saw lower turnout. in some of those regions, and it's definitely going to be a state that's going to go down the wire. Personally, I think Trump will improve in Kent County. I think he could improve a little bit in Ottawa County. Macomb County is going to be the bellwether, and if Macomb and some of the rural areas swing back in the Dem column, it's not going to be a good look for Trump, but that could happen. It's going to go down the wire. Michigan and Pennsylvania. Don't hold me to these two states right here because they easily could go to Trump. Wisconsin, I'm going to have to do the opposite thing here. I'm going to have to give Wisconsin to President Trump. Again, I do believe that he's going to improve in the most populated area of the state, being the Milwaukee suburbs and the WOW counties. I also think he's going to do fairly decently in the rural areas. Primary turnout showed him doing fairly well in them, some of them. However, there could be a little bit of a decline in southwest Wisconsin off of some sort of a pendulum swing, although that's not even a sure thing. And either way, I think he's going to improve his voter margins in the WOW. I think he could do better in places like Green Bay, Oshkosh, and eventually win the state of Wisconsin come November. The state of Minnesota is a different story. Minnesota, I'll put in the lean D column. I just think that Trump's riot response wasn't exactly the strongest, and I don't think that he's necessarily going to win the state of Minnesota. It seems like he could have done a little bit better on that front. We don't even have a whole lot of polling data out of Minnesota, so that could change. The midterms didn't look as good for Republicans as other states like Wisconsin or Michigan, kind of showing that they are voting to the right of the country. Minnesota voted to the left of the country by a few points in the midterms, so that's also kind of making me a little skeptical that Trump will automatically win the state, although you don't know what's going to happen between now and then, so we'll just have to wait and see. Nebraska's 2nd district is a district that I do believe is going to go into Trump's column. Primary turnout data, conventional trends, looking at where a lot of the voters that went from Romney went to. They didn't go to Clinton. A lot of them voted for Johnson, and we've seen much polling data showing the people that supported Johnson or didn't vote in 2016 that supported Mitt Romney strongly approve of Donald Trump's job performance, and I do believe they would vote for him again. And that's why I think Trump is going to win Nebraska's 2nd district again. And this can be showcased by the fact it went red in the midterms at the House level and at the Senate level. State of Texas, I still believe, is going to be voting for Trump. It is changing a little bit. I think it's going to get closer. I think Trump is going to win the state by around 6 percentage points, and some of the polling data we've weighted has shown this. At a PPP, it had Trump up by 2. You weighted it properly by party ID, Trump zoomed up to 6, so I don't really buy a whole lot of the original early polling out of some of these states that have showed Trump down to Biden. Those are the polls that usually have a lot of undecided voters, and we know the party makeup of Texas. We've seen things like the special election that took place in the state of Texas. We saw that in the Bellwether House district that went Republican by 16 points, despite the fact you had Warren down there, you had Beto down there, you had Biden, all trying to get the resources together to flip that seat. Also, primary turnout for Republicans, Trump on Super Tuesday almost outperformed all of the Democrats combined. So that's even more good news for President Trump and his prospects to win the state. Also, you have abysmal Latino enthusiasm in the polls. That's going to hurt Democrats, especially some of these polls in the aggregate show Trump getting in the low to mid 30s, so that's going to be very interesting. That's why New Mexico's not safe, especially the fact you have a lot of Johnson voters that will go to Trump, although it probably will still go to Biden by around 6-7 points at a minimum. Similar thing with Colorado, where you do have the educational trends that are really hurting Republicans, although I don't know if Biden's going to do that much better than Hillary did because he had an abysmal primary showing. Bernie Sanders actually beat him fairly well. The exit polls said around 10 to 15% of Bernie supporters would actually back Trump over Biden, and many more wouldn't vote, so we have to take that into consideration as well. So it brings us down to 2 states, and this election is at 263 to 258 for the Republicans, Nevada and Arizona. So I do actually have a map out of the state of Nevada, and it shows that basically every single county swung or trend in favor of Donald Trump back in the 2016 election. Will this continue? Well, Republicans are getting close to maxed out in some areas. Personally, lower Latino turnout is going to help Trump in the state of Nevada, assuming it would happen. In terms of this, I'm not necessarily willing to sit here and say that Donald Trump is going to outright win the state of Nevada. There's many signs that point to that direction. Some early polls, but we have to take them with a grain of salt as well, especially because they really overperform Republicans in the state of Nevada, as well as the fact that the midterm exit polls showed Trump with a 48% approval rating in the state of Nevada, which was more than some swing states had him at, like Wisconsin or Pennsylvania had him roughly around the same. So in terms of the state of Nevada, I'm going to say that Biden will win it, but it is going to be extremely close, and I'm going to say the entire opposite thing for the state of Arizona. And the state of Arizona, if you look at the way it's voted in recent elections, Democrats seem to have a ceiling. They always go between 44.7 or 44.4 actually, and 45.1%. So they can barely crack 45% in the state of Arizona. Do I expect Biden to outperform 45? Yes. Do I expect him to outperform 46? He's going to get close to 47. But the bottom line was you saw a lot of voters, particularly Mormon voters in Arizona, go third party. And a lot of those voters voted for Romney in 2012. I would assume enough would be back to beat the incoming voter registrations of the Democrat Party that they've picked up. Trump won the state by 90,000 votes. Personally, he's going to win it by closer. He might even lose Maricopa County, but I still think Arizona is going to go in the Republican column, and as a result, Republicans are going to win this election. Donald Trump, I still believe, despite a lot of the polling data that I've partially debunked on my website, RedEaglePolitics.com, I do believe that Trump is going to still win this election. Although make no mistake, because if you're a Trump fan, you have to get out and vote because it's going to go down the wire. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. Join the Discord and subreddit. Donate to the Patreon or subscribe. Star links in the description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.